Welcome to Google You and Your Classroom 2021 Google Summer Updates. So awesome. I can't wait to get into this. Who am I, you may say? I am Dr. Desiree Alexander. I am the founder, CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting. These are all of the wonderful ways that you can contact me. Yay! If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, remember that any resources that we have will be right underneath the video in the details. You do not get a certificate, but you do get the knowledge. What do we have coming up? Next weekend, we have Equity is Not an Add-on. Oh, I love that title. It gives me chills. I am very lucky and honored to be on a panel with these wonderful people. If you've seen us speak before, it's always just very enlightening. I always learn from it, even though I'm sitting on the panel. So it should be a really good one. And because it's a 2-hour session, it's more time for you to actually interact and communicate, and it should be a good one. Then we have Saturday, October 2nd, Infusing Digital Reading and Writing Tools in the Remote Blended or Face-to-Face Classroom with Dr. Hines. We have Creating Engaging and Interactive Lessons with Nearpod. And then we're going to hop from Nearpod to Seesaw, using Seesaw for Did, Sit, and Reflection, October 23rd. And then in person, October 30th, TCCA in Houston, Texas. I always enjoy the TCCA conference, whether it's virtual or not. Happy that's going to be in person again, if things hopefully start and continue to get better, hopefully, cross fingers. Then we have Saturday, December 4th, Google Educator Certifications Panel. So if you've ever been interested in being a Google certified trainer or innovator or coach, come and hear the experiences. If you are one of those and you just like, I'm just not connected, come and get connected. So, you're like, Desiree, you just sped through that. I know, but that's because you can find all of those things on the same website. So you are good to go. So what I want to do now is I want to hear about some updates. I don't know if y'all want to hear about updates, but I want to hear about some Google updates. So we are going to go ahead and get started with Google Summer 2021 updates.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm so happy to present to you today. So many Google updates. Let's get started. So as you know, my name is Joy Blake, and I'm going to be presenting to you. My presentation is entitled Google You and Your Classroom, and we're talking about recent updates across Google products. Now, a little bit more about me is I am the instructional technology specialist for Chicago Public Schools. I've worked as a STEM specialist or STEM coach. I've also worked as a math and science teacher for over 15 years, primarily in 5th through 8th grade math. And I've been teaching since 2005. Yes, I'm aging myself. And I've been using G Suite or Google Workspace in my classroom since 2014. I'm a Google Level 1 and 2 certified educator. And I'm coming to that training or that professional development on December 4th so I can become a trainer like Dr. Alexander. But outside of that, I also have a website, which is blakebasics.com, where you can find all of my presentations, all of my materials, and learn more about me. So now, before we get started, a little housekeeping. We all know this. As you already know, it's being recorded, but please remain muted. If you have questions, I literally leave tons of time at the end to answer any questions or demonstrate anything that you might need for you. And then my presentation includes some links this time, but not as many as before, but it does have a lot of instructions and videos to help you understand the techniques. So, not the techniques, the updates. So our objectives for today, what we're going to learn about, learners will be able to gain an understanding of recent Google product updates. And secondly, learners will discover tips on how to use these updates within their classroom. So not only am I going to just tell you about it, if some of them have happened, I'm going to show you where they're at, where they will be or where they're at, and give you some ideas of how you can use it. So my brand is Blake Basics, and whenever I start a presentation, I always talk about what you're going to see, how you can use it, and why I know it works. So for this presentation, you're going to see a lot of GIFs or GIFs or whatever you want to call them, little short videos that actually show the updates in action. You're going to see me going to like Google Forms and showing you how to use these updates, and how you can use it is I'm giving you this presentation, take it with you, refer back to it, because keep in mind, not all of the updates have happened today. So some of them have already happened and some are happening in the future. So you might want to reference this presentation later on. And then how I know it works is I've been a teacher myself. Anything I'm telling you, I would definitely 100% use in my classroom. So let's get to the next part. So, wow, look at that list of updates. Holy moly, it's 8 updates. 8, pretty much almost every Google product has an update coming up. So this is the order though. This is the order that I'm going to talk about it, because some people might be like, oh, I only care about Google Classroom updates. Well, that's number 5. So anyways, here's the updates. We have, I'm going to be talking about Google Meet first, then Google Docs, then Google Sheets, then Google Chrome, Google Classroom, Google Chat, Google Slides, and then Google Forms. So I'm going to talk about that. And an added little bonus I didn't put on here is I'm going to talk about my 2021 game changers that I just discovered myself that have nothing to do with updates, but why not share? So let's get started with the Google Meet update. So for Google Meet, now, before I continue talking, I just want to direct your eye to this upper corner right here, because on every slide, that's where it's going to kind of give you an idea of when that update is coming out. So if you go into your Google Meet and you're like, oh, I don't see this, make sure you go back and reference right here so you know about when it's coming out. So the biggest one, I'm so excited about this. This makes my life so happy. They're going to have multiple moderators. That means that you can give host controls to up to 25 people. I repeat, 25 people can now have host controls within a Google Meet. So what that means for me, I'm going to give real life scenario. When I was a teacher last year doing remote learning, every Wednesday, my assistant principal would get my class 15 minutes before I came in. So it was like a way for her to give me a break. So I would come in 15 minutes after school started. But guess what? Because she did that, I lost my host controls every Wednesday. So every Wednesday, I couldn't remove students. I couldn't mute students. I couldn't do breakout rooms. I couldn't do polls because my assistant principal joined before me. No longer is that the case. You can give host controls to 25 people. So that's a great way if you have a co-teacher, if you're doing a professional development and it's a group of teachers that are presenting together, all of you can have the host controls, which makes it a lot easier. But remember, whoever creates the Google Meet, they're the one who will have to go in and like give the host controls to others. Another update.
Joy, can you answer why does it say education fundamentals at the bottom?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry if I missed that question. Education fundamentals, that's the type of like Google workspace that your school district or that your school has. So depending on your district and depending on what Google like workspace that they have, these features are a part of that. I'm not certain if I answered that as clearly. I don't know if you want to elaborate, Dr. Alexander, on that, but that's how I understood it.
Correct. Yeah, I think you said it. Yeah, just know that if she says like a great update, you have to make sure that it's part of your Google. So Google Fundamentals is the completely free Google for education. But if it says something else, then you'll have to check with your district to see if you will be getting that update.
Right. Yeah. Like for instance, I'm Chicago Public Schools. We have Education Plus, which is an additional cost. So yeah, thank you, Dr. Alexander. All right, let's move on for another new update. It's just the interface has changed. So now when you present, I love this feature. When I presented last year, again, whenever you hit present, you couldn't see the kids, you couldn't see your students, you couldn't see the chat unless you had like another computer or a dual monitor. Now when you present, you actually can see the people in the classroom as you present. So that's a great added feature. And then it just makes it easier if you don't have two computers. It helps you to be able to kind of navigate a lot smoother. So that's one, so as you can see. And then hand raising. I don't know if I'm the only teacher that got annoyed by this, but I hate it when kids will click the raise hand and then forget to lower their hand. And then I had to tell them, do you have a question or is your hand just up? And then you got to wait for the kid to unmute and say, I forgot to lower my hand. I know I can't be the only teacher who has experienced this. Now with this cool new feature, see how he has the blue around himself. When you see the blue, when someone speaks, blue will go around and Google is automatically now going to just lower their hand. So if they unmute or if they speak, their hand will now be lowered automatically. Awesome. Closed captioning. This is wonderful for bilingual students. Now students can get closed captions in French, English, German, Portuguese, and Spanish. So that is a great feature. They just click that CC and now they can get those closed captions, and that is free for all. Next, if you use Google Classroom, Google Meet on your phone, which I actually do sometimes, some of the features have gotten a lot better. We all know there's some students who will be on their mom's phone when they're on a Google Meet instead of a laptop. So now you have the ability to mute everyone. So safety controls on the mobile, in meetings for everyone on the call, and mute everyone all at once on your phone. So if for some reason something goes wrong with your computer and you have to join with your phone, you still have more controls, which is great. Multi-pinning, I love this feature because it allows you, for me, I have some students that I know that are deaf and hard of hearing. And if you, for some reason, if you have a training or if you're doing something and you have a sign language interpreter, now that student can see pin the presentation and see the sign language interpreter at the same time, which makes their experience better. Also for your students, they can pin you as you're speaking and then pin the presentation at the same time. So you can make multiple pins within a Google Meet. That is a nice new feature. Now, keep in mind, this is saying coming in the upcoming, but I think I was able to multi-pin yesterday. I tried this out. So just check some of these out because there's no specific date. Next, you also going with the closed captioning. You can do that in live streaming. Now keep in mind, this is the Education Plus and the Teaching and Learning update. But if you're doing a live stream, now you can also add closed captioning, which makes a huge difference. And I kind of like this update. I don't want to put my own personal opinion, but if it was me, instead of being able to lock, so with video lock, what that means is you can make everyone turn off their camera all at once. As a teacher, the camera thing wasn't a huge issue, but there were those random kids who are doing like TikTok dances and just doing the most. And the camera, this might help if you just are like, you know what, I need all cameras on, I need everybody focused, or maybe it's a test, or maybe it's a bathroom break. But if I could choose, I would love if they could do where you could mute everybody and they actually stay muted and could not unmute themselves. But that update is not here yet. But so we'll just take video lock for now. Breakout room safety improvement. Oh my goodness. Breakout rooms as a teacher, I use them, especially during remote learning, a ton. But the only thing I didn't like is you couldn't really see what the kids were doing in the breakout room because you couldn't like moderate them all at once. Now remember, this is the Education Plus feature. But one cool thing is now when you end a breakout room, instead of kids just going off into oblivion, they are forced to return back to the main call. That was something I encountered where kids would just like not come back and they would just be gone. So now they automatically go back to the main room. And then breakout room safety improvements. Again, I was talking about the breakout rooms, how you kind of couldn't moderate the students as easily as the teacher. Now you can at least put the same host controls within your breakout room. So if you want the chat to be turned off, because I've had incidents where kids, that's where they think they can bully each other, do random stuff in breakout rooms because the chat is on. Now you can turn the chat off in all breakout rooms, which keeps the kids on task. So whatever host controls you have for your meet, you can also extend those to your breakout room. So moderator can choose to have breakout room safety settings match the safety settings of the main meeting. This makes my life so happy. So I would just say this is a good one, but this is also for Education Plus or Teaching and Learning Upgrade. Again, going with their later this year. So this is like probably closer to December, but you will now, students and teachers and parents will be able to use live translated captioning. So that helps a lot, especially if you want to have a meeting with a parent that speaks another language. Teach them this feature or teach this feature to the student so that you and the parent can communicate. It's just a great feature overall. It just makes everything easier for people to reach out to each other. Now, the public live streaming, this is great for school events. If you're hosting public live streams that anyone outside of the school domain can attend, like an assembly, because with our domain, certain people, it's harder for them to join if they don't have a CPS email. Now with this option that's coming out later this year, parents can join. People who have, a different email can join your live stream. So this is a great feature. Now it's time for me to demo a little bit. So I'm just going to show you where some of this stuff is, just in case you're like, okay, she said this, how do I get to this? Because it's better to see it. That's just my opinion. So I'm going to just start an instant meet. Mute myself. Okay, so here's my Google Meet. Now, just so you're wondering where some of the features is, if you click on people here, a new feature that is now there is that now you can search for people. So if you're trying to do attendance and you're like, did Justin come today? You can just type in his name, boom, it's there. Another thing is if someone else were to join my meet, I would have the option right here to add them to make them a host. So now a little new 3-dot menu will be next to the person's name. You can click on that and then make them a host. So that's a new feature. Also, there's something else I wanted to show you. I'm trying to think about it, but that would probably be it. I'm not saying this is just a little added bonus, but I noticed that there's also the screen noise cancellation. I feel like that's kind of new, but maybe I've missed this. And just a little side tip that's a little off tangent, but if you click on video, you need to change this to standard definition 360p, standard definition 360p. It drastically improves the quality of your Google Meet. That's just like a little side tip. And if you love backgrounds, which they didn't really talk about, but they've added a few new backgrounds within Google Meet that just kind of came out this summer. Like you can, you can have like this cool classroom one. Everyone asks me, where'd you get this from? Well, it's a new background that moves within Google Meet. So those are some little like hidden things that I have discovered also. So let's go back. So pretty much, you know what? I knew it was something else I wanted to show you, but I can't get to, I'm just going to keep moving for now. But also within Google Meet, you can minimize like your video, like you can minimize the avatar of yourself. You can move yourself around. And that's where you can do the double pinning, which I talked about earlier. But some tips that I would say to use in your classroom with these new Google Meet updates, I definitely would encourage you to use the host controls to your benefit with your students. I always had a teacher's assistant. Maybe you want to say a privilege of being teacher assistant is you have host controls. I don't know. That's a level of the trust that you have with your students. So I'm not saying to do that. But it could be an incentive, or it could also be something that you can give to students who are like, you're a great digital citizen. I trust you with these certain things, and I might give you these host controls or take these away. Of course, encourage students to use closed captioning and translation. I've already talked about searching for students with the attendance. And I've already talked about, please encourage the students to do multiple pinning, especially pinning you so that they don't just see the presentation, but they also see you in the presentation. That's a great one to me to improve learning. So now let's get into Google Docs. Google Docs has a ton of updates. I mean, a lot. And so let me start here. The first one is interactive checklist. I have really enjoyed this because I'm the random grocery list person that has to make a list of everything I have to do. But as you can see in the little short video, you can make a checklist. When you click it, it'll cross it out. And who doesn't like to feel like something is done when you cross it out? I mean, everyone loves this. So the interactive checklists are awesome. I would highly recommend using these in your assignments with students. Like, for instance, you can create a checklist just for their daily tasks. Like, did you put your name? Did you check your work? Like, I was a math teacher, so I would probably be like, did you put your name at the top? Did you go back and check your work? Did you click the turn in button? I don't know, but I can't give specific examples, but I would definitely use that as a way to like keep your students on task. And I would put those checklists at the beginning of the assignment to keep the students like to go back and reference what they need to do on the assignment. Another update that is really innovative for me, in my opinion, is the smart chips. So for instance, if you search for a person, you can put their email there, and I'm going to show you this in the demo, but you can put their email and put their name, and now it'll automatically link to their email address. You also can put like the name of one of your presentations or like a document that's in your drive, and now it automatically will link to that document. So that saves times, even with newsletters. If you have a newsletter that you send out every week, now you can just put your name, and when the parent hovers over the name, all your contact information is right there. It just saves time. So that's smart chips. Also, you're able to present within the docs. Most people, you probably have noticed this in the corner, but if you're in a Google Meet with a student and they have something they want to show, now they can right away, like if you're like, they're like, I don't understand this. If they have an assignment they don't understand, instead of them like going to the Google Meet, then hitting present, then going to the assignment, they can just present that assignment into the Google Meet right then and there, because when they click on that, it's gonna ask them like, what are you trying to present into? And if they're already in a Google Meet, they'll be able to present right away like what they're working on right then and there. So it just saves like clicks. It kind of like saves time. So another thing, if somebody, like I have a lot of Microsoft Word documents that I used prior to 2014 before I really started using Google Workspace. And now, if you have something from Microsoft Word, what used to happen is when you would open it up, it would show up like as a preview, and then you had to click open with, and then like open it into a Google Doc, and then the formatting would be all weird and stuff, and it would just be like, oh, golly. But now, if you have something that's from Microsoft Word, when you click on it, it automatically opens up to a Google Doc, and the formatting is not as weird. So that's to me, I love that feature. That's like good teamwork, guys. And then also just a little side thing, now on Google Docs, I've discovered you can add in GIFs within Google Docs and they'll move and stuff. That's a new feature. So anyways, and this kind of goes with this, but you can create and import documents that contain images above or behind text in Google Docs. So now, like if you look, it says capture the night set, but they first put a picture, and now they are able to type on top of the picture, which is cool, because before pretty much all you could do was like wrap the image around the text, but now you can actually type on the picture, which I think is a cool feature, especially if maybe you want to blog or you're just trying, it just makes it more aesthetically appealing or artistic. That's my opinion. Okay, so if you are an Education Plus Plus member, again, you can embed your live Meet videos in a Google Doc or a slide. So now you can just put it in there, like join this meeting. We're gonna meet on Tuesday at 7 p.m. But now you can actually put like the Google Meet link in there, and people could just join from the document that they're working on. So that it's just more efficient. And coming in the next month is the table templates. For me, I love when people can vote on stuff, or if they like something or dislike it. So this is a great feature where you could have create a table and now you can have a voting feature within it. One question I did have for Google that I have asked is, will you be able to know who voted for what? And they did tell me they were getting back to me on this. So that's the only thing, like, I'm not certain if when the voting comes, if it's just unanimous or if you'll be able to know like the actual 3 kids that voted for that thing. So that's just a side thing. Hopefully that's what happened. And then the Smart Canvas, this is a really, really new, and it says it's a new experience that enhances collaboration in the apps that you use every day, like docs, sheets, and slides, by making them even more interactive and intelligent. So like, it's just kind of like a way where everything connects together. So as you can see in the video, they open the document, then they were able to link it to a person or another document. Now they're going to put in a table where they can vote. And now they're going to put in the next thing where they have a checklist. So it's basically where they're trying to make Google Docs more of a smart canvas where everything kind of connects, and you could just almost stay within a Google Doc instead of having to exit out and come back. Now everything is like interconnected. That is the goal. So this is just an example. So I'll let you watch this video. So this is just basically the same thing you just saw, just a little bit bigger. So that's them linking it to an actual document. And as you can see, when you put at, that was just a little side thing, but when you put at, it brings up people, it brings up files, it brings up your Google Drive. So it brings up more than just like a person when you put at, it brings up other things that you can include. So that's that. So I'm not gonna get, and then a new thing later this year for Education Plus, which could help students, is writing tips, okay? And also you're gonna get warnings like if it's offensive language, which we all know students sometimes need. So you're gonna get warnings about offensive words and language, as well as other stylistic suggestions. So this goes above and beyond Smart Compose. It actually like gives you tips and says, hey, oops, sorry, that's my timer to keep on time. But it also gives you like some tips like, you just might not wanna include that or do this. So it's demo time, but first let me talk about some tips that I think you could use this in your classroom with. So one tip is use checklists to keep students organized. I kind of talked about this already. Allow students to vote what they're learning about next or what book they might read next. Students love student voice. Require students to use at least 3 smart chips if they're doing group work. So 3 smart chips could be, they can include an email, and include a link to like another document, or maybe include like a checklist or something, make them include more smart chips, and then use smart chips to link exemplary work within rubrics. If I'm creating a rubric, I think that is the way I would use the smart chips the most, is to, instead of being like, okay, you get a 5 if you do this, I can include like put at and then put an example of student work that would be a 5. And they can click on it and see it right then and there. So if we go, now I'm just gonna show you actually within Google Docs, some of the updates that are there now. So if you look here, here's my Google Doc. In the toolbar here, that's where the checklist is. So you see, like if I click on it, it comes, if I say done and done, and then I click on it, bye-bye, it goes away. Another thing, if I put at, and as you can see, like here's people, here's some files. If I want to include a file, I can include dates and things from my calendar. I can include a calendar invite, so, or a calendar event. So if I'm using this for my newsletter and I want to put upcoming events, I can actually link it to my calendar. So I'm just wanted to kind of show you, so you'd be like, well, she said this stuff, where is this stuff at? If I insert, I'm not certain if the picture thing is there yet, so I'm not even going to get into that because it'll send me down a spiral. So let me keep going so I can stay on time. So let's get into the Google Sheet updates. There's not too many that are coming out. You know, there's not only 2 updates, but they still make a difference. So now if you have a Google Sheet like me, I have Google Sheets that have like 10 tabs within them. Now I can hide them so that I can only see that one sheet that I want to look at. at that time. So I like that feature for me, because now you don't accidentally click like project tracker when you want it to be in the raw data. You can just hide the ones you don't want to look at right now and focus on the tab that you're working on. This one I think will actually help. This is for Education Plus. But when this comes out, I really think this will help people, because some people really are fearful or don't really like Google Sheets because it's just like so many formulas. How do I use it? And it does take a skill. Like using formulas within Google Sheets is its own language, and you have to kind of learn that. So with this assisted analysis, I think that will help because it's going to give you tips like, we've noticed that maybe you should use this formula, or you should use unique, or you should use, different formulas to help you with the project you're working on. So I'm looking forward to that. Now let's get into Google Chrome updates. If you have a Chrome book, the first one is associated with Chromebooks, but it's awesome because it's an accessibility feature. So on your Chromebook, when you open up your settings and you click on accessibility, now you have the option to magnify, which can help with students who may be vision impaired or just help students to focus more in. In our district, all the students have one-to-one Chrome, not all of them, but students who have one-to-one Chromebooks. So this feature with the accessibility and being able to zoom in could make like a huge difference for a child. And then if you want to learn more about Chrome, there's the Chrome Vox tutorials, which are quick little snippets, quick little things that get the job done and answer all your questions. So you're introducing new tutorials, a quick orientation for new users, and a practice area for small set lessons. So this is a great thing for you to just jump right in, work on what you're trying to learn about, and go from there. So that, I think that's cool. So also this one, I have a first grader. I wish I had this last year when I had to teach him how to do kindergarten, basically, and get him logged in every day. Now they have the option for students to use PIN logins instead of, their Gmail username and password. So now they can enter in those numbers and get logged in. To me, I feel like this will help any early childhood teacher, or maybe even any teacher, because I was a 5th grade teacher and I had tons of students who couldn't remember their login for some reason. And maybe they can remember a 6-digit PIN, because that is kind of more connected to how our phones work. I know I use a PIN number on my phone a lot, and I remember it. So I like this feature, and I think it'll just make getting into your computer more accessible and easier. So now let's talk about Classroom. The title of this is Google You in Your Classroom. So we got to talk about Google Classroom. And wow, most of these aren't out yet. So don't get too excited, because I know I got super excited. But when these come out, holy moly, this is going to make a huge difference. So the first one, you know how in your Google Classroom, you can add a Google Meet within the classroom for the students to join. Now, last year, what I discovered, this happened to me a lot. If I was absent, the kids would copy that Google Meet link, and then I would find out that they would be meeting together. That's what they would use to like meet together. Because most kids can't do that anymore, but when remote learning first started, they could. So they could copy the link and have their own little meetings, and I would get emails in my email like about the attendance report, and I would be like, I don't know any of these kids, like what's going on? And that's because they were copying the Meet link and they were going inside. Now they can't do that. They can't join the meeting without you giving them permission. That is a new one that's coming out. So the only way they can join is once you're there and you let them in. So a powerful update is how you can use Google Meet in Classroom, making it easier, safer, and more secure. So there's no kids joining without you. Kids can't copy the link and try to get in when you're not there. They just can't do it. And if you notice, the location of where they joined for the Meet has moved. It used to be like right under there in the theme, but now it's over to the side. And I feel like it's more obvious like where to go with that button there that says join. So that's just gonna make it easier. Another thing is they can take their classroom offline with them, especially if they're losing internet connection. Now they can turn off online settings. Well, not yet, but soon they'll be able to turn off make it offline and do their work, whether they have internet or not. Coming out later this year, this is huge, which is, I'm gonna show you a video on this, but now there's gonna be a lot more add-ons within Classroom. So like Kahoot, instead of you just adding a link to your Kahoot quiz, because every teacher knows about Kahoot and loves it, instead of adding the link, now it literally, you can add Kahoot to a Google Classroom assignment and they'll go straight into Kahoot. Now you're probably saying, well, isn't that the same as a link? Technically, it's not the same, because if you ever use like book widgets or even IXL or any of these, when you just add the link in, the students are still like forced to log in and then they go to the assignment, which in turn could stop some kids from doing the assignment because they don't know their login and all that. Now they're not forced to like click the link, then log into the website and then go to the assignment. With these cool add-ons, they'll just be able to go to the assignment. So I like this. These are the new add-ons. There'll probably be more, but here's a quick video so you can see kind of like how it will work. And I'm going to talk through it. So here's the, they're going to make the assignment. And now when they make the assignment, see the add-ons will be there. And now they just click the book widgets add-on, which assignment they want the kids to do from book widgets and assign. So of course, you're gonna still have to go into book widgets and make the assignment. But again, when the child does it, they will not have to log in. That's how it'll look for them. They'll just go straight to the assignment. You see that? So they just go straight to the assignment, get her done. And now they click turn in, which makes it turn into the Google Classroom. So that was another thing for me. Like I use vocabulary, and if I gave an assignment within Google Classroom, and they turned it in, I would have to check it. I would have to like go to vocabulary, check the assignment within vocabulary, and then go back to Google Classroom. Now I can check the assignment or grade the assignment within my Google Classroom. I don't have to go out to the other websites. I hope that was clear. Maybe I'm the only one that encountered this stuff, but I'll take questions after the end. Okay, so, oops, sorry. Let me move on to my next. All right, and this one, the dashboard, this is like, holy moly macaroni, because now you can see what students are doing on the Google Classroom. You can see what work they did on the Google Classroom. You can see how long they were on the Google Classroom. And you can see if they even went to the Google Classroom. This is a great thing. Unfortunately, it makes a teardrop come down in my eye because it says later this year. But I mean, it still is a great feature because now you know, so as you can see, activity will be added up here. And so it'll be stream class where people grades and now activity. So as a teacher, you'll be able to see, okay, well, Ronald, or if you look at Lucas didn't do anything. He didn't, you can kind of like see what they're doing. So I really like this feature, and it's going to be a free feature on all Google Classrooms, which I really think was well thought out. So coming out later this year as well is the ability to schedule multiple assignments within multiple classrooms. Like for me, I was a math teacher. I had two fifth grade math classes, and they were both doing the same assignment, but before this feature was here, I couldn't schedule them to start at certain times. You can assign an assignment to multiple classes, but you can't schedule when it starts to multiple classes. And now with this cool feature, as you can see, they're going to assign it, and now both classes will get it at the time you want. So if you have a morning class, you'll be able to be like, okay, I want theirs to start at 8:30. I want my afternoon class to start at 12:30. That's like saving so much time. Thank you so much. Maybe it's just me, but I mean, it saves a lot of time. So some tips for your classroom, in my opinion, would be once these do start, would be to create incentives with that activity or the Google Classroom dashboard. Start to reward students, create incentives around their activity on Google Classroom. That's what I would do, especially as a way to recognize hard work and also to like keep kids on task and also to let the kids know I'm watching you, but I'm going to reward you as well. All right, and then try a new add-on each month. Once all the add-ons start getting there, it makes sense to just start using them more within your classroom. Why not? And they're pretty good add-ons. Everybody knows iExcel. Everybody has used Kahoot. I mean, and that's going to save time with Kahoot because then you don't have to worry about them putting that code in, and it's just going to save so much time. Now, let's get to the Google Chat updates. It's really only one main update, which is you can now do the side-by-side collaboration. If you're someone who hasn't really been using Google Chat, I highly recommend to start using it, especially with your students, because I can't tell you how many Google Chat messages I get every day from my old students that I don't even teach anymore. They're really on there and they really do like getting the messages. If you don't know, Google Chat used to be called Google Hangouts. That does not exist anymore. Google Hangouts is now Google Chat. But the main thing is that now you can send documents, YouTube videos, Google Sheets, anything within an actual chat, and the person can open it up and look at it. So for instance, with my demo with Google Chat, and I'm going to show you this, but I would highly recommend if a student is like missing an assignment, you can send them a quick Google Chat like, hey, you forgot to turn this in, and then link the assignment, and boom, they just do it right then. If a kid is behind or they kind of don't understand, you can send them like a quick Google Chat where you send them maybe an article to help them understand or a video to help them understand. But the main one I use Google Chat for a lot was like, hey, you forgot to turn this in. Hey, I need a picture of you for the newsletter. And they can just send you the picture like right in the Google Chat. So if you're like, I've never really used chat, I don't know what she's talking about. I just want to show you like an example of what this looks like. So this is, let's see. So you see, here's two of my students sending me messages. Let me see, where is one that I can use to show? Oh Lord. Okay, I'm gonna do it from my boss because we have tons of these, so this is a great example. But as you can see, here's a link to a Google group that we've used. You can put emojis. Here's a link to like a PowerPoint presentation. We have videos. Here's a link to a Google Doc. And if I click on this Google Doc here, now when I open it, I see the option to open it in chat, or if I want to make it bigger, I can fully open it by clicking preview. So so if you and somebody else are working on something, you could both have that thing open within chat and then be like commenting about it together right then and there. So it's just like, it's a great feature for workflow. Don't forget to always, if you get annoyed by the chat message you get, make sure you turn them off. You can put do not disturb away, and that will kind of help with all the messages you get, just saying. All right, let's get going. Next one we have up, because I have less than 10 minutes. I'm going to get done. Google Slides updates are mostly aesthetically appealing updates to make it look more cute, So mainly this one is you can now add a placeholder. Like if you and somebody else are working on a cool slide. So then like, as you can see, she put the picture thing. That's good for students. If you're like, I want you to put a picture here, they know like where to put the picture. So that's like a new feature that you can add. And then I didn't realize how much you can customize your themes, but that is a great feature. So maybe you want your do nows to always be a certain color, or I did a lot of my exit slips on Google Slides, and maybe you want them to all be the same color scheme. So now you can create your own theme. So if I do, like even within this Google slide that I'm in, I'm going to show you where you can find this at. So where you can find it is when you go, let me click on the slide here. Okay. Okay, so now you see when I'm on when I go to fill, this is the Google, pretty much like, and you can see that you can now name a theme. So if you love like the Google colors, you can edit it, you can give it a name, you can give it, a title, and then you can always reference back that color scheme. So this is like custom. So if you want to make your own, you can just click the plus sign, add the colors you want, and then give it a name. So that's kind of what they're referencing. Okay. I'm not that colorful with the colors and all that organizing, but I know some people who are. So I think that's a great feature. All right, let me get back to where I was. So that's where I just talked about using the customizable themes for particular subject areas, or even like for a class. Like maybe you want all that class to be one color, create that theme, and all their work looks like that color. That helps. So Google Form updates, most of these haven't quite come out yet, but they will make a difference. So this is coming in the month. In a couple months, if you go to a normal Google Form right now, all that's going to be there is question and response. But a new thing is now settings is going to be there. So I'm going to go to a form just so that you can kind of like visualize what I'm saying. So if right now all you see is like questions and responses, and then settings is all the way over there. And it's kind of hidden. And we use, as teachers, we use settings like a lot for our assignments, for the presentation, for the quiz. But now instead of us having to like click all the way over there, settings is just going to be right here, right there for you to use and for you to set up. Okay. So I think that's more efficient in my opinion. So I like that update. So like, see there's settings. Oh yeah, okay. And then now you have 20 new fonts. Right now, I think it's only like 4 fonts that you can use for a Google Form. So this can be a little bit more jazzy. So if you're wondering, well, where are the fonts? Where are the fonts? The fonts are under the little paintbrush or palette. And you can see here's the fonts, but it's only 1, 2, 3, 4. The only 4 fonts you can use. Now you can use 20. That's a big improvement. And then if we go autosave, I like this one, but then at the same time, I don't like this one. And I'm going to explain to you why. Well, I think it's good. Forms will automatically save for 30 days. I think this is good because I did have students who would start in a Google form and then exit out of it. And you do have to start all the way over. Like if you accidentally exit out of a Google form, like you can't save the form. So you have to start over. So that's a good feature. The only thing is, as a teacher, I would highly recommend that digital citizenship, talking to your students about it, because if you have autosave on, students could technically, save their work or work together. If it's like a test, they could get the answer and come back now because it will automatically save. So that's just something with your classroom management to kind of think about. How are you going to use autosave? But I still do think it's a really great update. And then like for me, I rarely assigned like work where I had the students create their own Google Forms. But now that they can do autosave, I feel like you can have students like, you can have that as an assignment. Like, I want you to create a Google form about this topic. And now they don't have to get it done right in that, it can just save. So I don't know. I think it's, well, technically, let me restate. Technically, if you're creating a Google form yourself, it will autosave. But so I probably shouldn't use that example, but I just feel like I would use forms more in my classroom now that it could save. I think that's more what I was trying to say. So that comes out September 15th. So that's next week in about 10 days. So check that out. So, I pretty much showed you where the stuff is in Google Forms, but you could, in my opinion, now that you have autosave as an option for your students, you can make longer forms, like more in-depth activities, more branching forms, because they can stay in there longer and they can come back to it. But as I said, make sure to turn off autosave if it's an important assignment or a test or quiz, or maybe give them a time limit to complete, but just think about that. So Google Forms is my last update, but I have still a little of my game changers that make my life so very happy that you might not have considered, but I'm gonna share them with you. So one is docs. If you haven't noticed, whenever I'm searching for something, I've been putting slides.new. If you put slides.new, docs.new, sheets.new, forms.new, it just opens it up right then and there, brand new for you to use, which again, we just want our life to be easier as teachers. That one makes your life easier. I already showed you about turning off, like putting away and stuff for the chat. And I would recommend, if you are going to use Google Chat, open it up in another window, open up another window that's dedicated to chat, because nobody likes all those chat messages popping up on their Gmail, but that's just personal preference. Don't forget the Omnibox is a calculator. Use the Explorer tool. The Explorer tool is down there. Use version history to go back. It's under file. It's always there. I already talked about autosave. Don't forget to pin your tabs. If you right click a tab, you can pin it. And every time you open your computer, guess what? That tab's going to be pinned. Holy smokes. Also, I just discovered this hyperlink one, but if you highlight, you hit highlight something and you just hit Control K, boom, now you can hyperlink it. Man, that saves me so much time instead of like going here, clicking on the little chain thing. I don't want to do that. Just hit Control K. Control K. I already talked to you about the Google Docs voting. The line tool in Google Slides, I just discovered last year. And basically when you go to your line that's here, it also is the option to scribble. So students can draw. Look at that cursive. Man, that girl's good. You can now draw within a Google slide by just switching to the scribble option. Me like it. Jamboard, I talk about it. It used to be like my ex-boyfriend. Now we're back dating again because Jamboard has gotten better. The reason I didn't like Jamboard is because you couldn't like kids could delete stuff and like move stuff around. I just didn't like that. But now Jamboard has version history and you can upload images as backgrounds, which makes it a lot easier. If you have two classes, instead of having to delete everything, you can just go back in the version history and give them an older version. It saves you time. And this is just if your students need support or help, you can always Google find food support and Google will help you with those type of things. So that is the end of my presentation. I would love an evaluation. And I included all these cool teacher resources for you. If you haven't used any of them, use them. The only two I'll highlight now is HyperDocs, because this is a website that has so many HyperDocs pre-created. And instead of it, it kind of also goes by teachers give teachers. Like, everyone's heard of teachers pay teachers, but this site goes by teachers give teachers. And it has like tons of free stuff that teachers have created that they're just giving away for free. How nice is that? Tab Cloud is an extension that allows you to save all your tabs. Me like it. And SlidesGo is a great website for just slide creation and cool slide templates. I'm just saying. But check out all the other ones as well. Here's some things that I talk about all the time, literally all the time. Read this book, it's great. Read this book, it's great. And if you're a teacher, you should have been read this book because this is like my teaching Bible. Teach like a champion, you learn so much. If you want to hear me talk about classroom management, check out this podcast. And this is our website from Chicago Public Schools. You can check it out. We have cool stuff on there. And thank you. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful school year. I hope some of these updates get you excited. You can't wait to use them. And yeah, I hope there's more and more coming out. And are there any questions? So I guess I'll go back. But that is the end of my presentation. Thank you, Dr. Alexander.
Thank you. We definitely have some questions. So I made it to where people can unmute themselves. So just raise your little hand in Zoom. Just raise your hand and then I will ask you to unmute to ask your question. And if you want to type your question in the chat again, you can also do that. So we're just waiting for someone to raise their hand so we can let them unmute.
Oh, you're welcome, Heidi. I see Heidi said, thank you. Anybody raise their hand yet?
I don't have the hand raised in my thing, but I have a question about add-ons.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, you said go to assignments and there should appear add-ons. I have two questions. When will the add-on appear? And also, when you click the add-on, will it give you a list of things that you can choose from, like the Kahoot, or do we have to go somewhere else to add on to the add-on?
Okay, that was a great question. So actually what is going to happen is when the add-ons are added, when the add-ons become a part of Google Classroom, it'll be like, if you look at, let's see, do I have, oh, here's a video of it. But if you look at the video, it's basically going to be like when you create the assignment, instead of it just saying, there's going to be like an option that says add-ons, and then it's going to have like a drop down. See, like here's, I'm going to pause the video. So see right here, like how it says add-ons, that'll be there every time you open up an assignment. And then when you click on this, all those add-ons that I showed that are here, they're going to appear for you to use. But the thing is, from what I can tell, any assignment that you want the student to use, you're going to have to first create that assignment within one of these websites. So like, for instance, if you're going to have to first go to Kahoot, create the Kahoot, and then now you can assign that specific Kahoot within Google Classroom. So that's how I understand the add-ons to work. It's more like, because if you see here, the teacher has already created the assignment within Book Widgets, and now Google Classroom just lets them pick the assignment that they want the student to do. Does that make sense? I hope that might be it's hard to explain without actually being able to show.
Yes, because we do that in Prodigy now, and a lot of other things. It will be like your Google Connected. So then that way it will be on, hopefully I'll understand.
Yeah, and hi Gail, thanks for coming. And yes, that I think you pretty much summed it up. Like in Prodigy, they would just, instead of you having to get a link and all that, but Prodigy is not an add-on yet, so that one's not going to show up right now. But maybe by the time it comes, it will. But right now, these are the only ones that are on this slide. Do I have any other questions? That was a good question.
The CPS link looks as though outside the district cannot access it.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that is true. I always forget that for our website. So unfortunately, I probably should remove that from my presentations or talk to my boss and see if I can change it so other people could come to our website. But yeah, right now, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I always forget that. So let me just take that off of you.
So next question, and then we're going to have one from Kate. Is Khan Academy on the list or off the list?
For Chicago, well, right now, if you're talking about a Google Class, I think that was Doris. Hello, Doris. If Google Classroom, for the Google Classroom add-ons, Khan Academy is not an option for Google Classroom add-ons right here. So it wouldn't be an add-on that you could add to Google Classroom. So if you had like a Khan Academy assignment, you would have to share a link to that assignment, and then within your Google Classroom, and then the students will have to log into Khan and then go to the assignment, because right now it's not gonna be an add-on as of this time.
Okay, go ahead, Kate.
So with the Google Meet update in Google Classroom, where kids can't join unless the teacher is joined first, what happens when the teacher gets accidentally kicked off, like due to Wi-Fi error or just something else that happens?
I don't have an exact answer for you, but I can give what I speculate might occur. Is that basically all the kids will be probably kicked off as well, because right now within Google, like if you make a calendar invite within Google Calendar, and you leave the meeting, now because of the security reasons, like people who didn't create that meet cannot stay. Like they have to, like, so because you're the host of that Google Meet, if you get kicked out, they're all gonna get kicked out, because once you leave, everyone is forced to leave. They no longer can just like stay behind. So that's like a new like security feature. So I'm not gonna say for certain that's how it'll be, but if I was a betting woman, I would bet that if you got kicked out, everybody goes, because you're the host. And now whoever's the host, once they leave, everyone is forced to leave. And usually what happens is like a little message pops up like, this meeting has ended. And it's just like, they're gone. I hope that answered that question. But I don't have an exact answer yet because it hasn't happened yet, but That's what I would guess.
That was a good answer. And I think it's going to be one of those things we can't answer, questions about something that hasn't launched yet. So we'll just have to wait to see.
Yeah, but that's a great scenario, Kate, that you brought up, because that does happen a lot where our Wi-Fi as teachers messes up and then we get booted and then we're randomly the one who has to come back in and the kids are just like chilling in the Google Meet without us. That happened to me a lot. So that was a great question.
So last call for questions. There is one thing that I wanted to clarify, but before that, I just wanted to make sure, see, we have any last call for questions. Not any. This is the last call for any questions. Like I didn't say that correctly. Well, while we are waiting, I did want to clarify just one thing, and that is when you open up a Word document in your Google Drive. So when you open up a Word document in your Google Drive with that one click, it does pull up and it looks like a Google Doc, but it's not. So I just want to make that kind of super duper clear that this is still your Word document. So all this is allowing you to do is to edit your actual Word document that's sitting here. So Google now allows you to edit Microsoft, so some of the Microsoft tools. So if I edit this right now, it's still not a Google Doc. It's just going to allow me to edit the Word document that I have. So if I want to make it an actual Word doc, you do have an extra step when you have to go to File and click Save as Google Docs. So once you do that, this one is actually going to be a Google Doc. So I just wanted to clarify that. You'll see that this still has doc, it's telling you, hey, this is still Word, where this one does not. So I just wanted to, again, clarify that very, very quickly.
Thanks so much for that, Dr. Alexander. I did misunderstand that one. So that was like super clear. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, I don't think we have any other questions. So Joy, again, with the throwdown of the amazing webinar. Like I was paying attention because I've heard of some of these updates, but you don't really get them in your head until you can kind of watch somebody explain them. So that was just amazing. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, everyone. And I hope you have a great 3-day weekend. Enjoy that Monday off.